He said, if you play Diana Ross, they will sue us.
Hi guys, and welcome to my part 1. So in this video I'm going to be looking at Act 1 of Dreamgirls and comparing it to the story of the Supremes. Dreamgirls has always had kind of a rap for being the story of the Supremes. So I'm going to look at that more closely, and I'm going to lay out the differences and the similarities and allow for you to decide whether you think it is. So sit tight, enjoy the roller coaster, see you soon. In 1958 Detroit, a 15-year-old schoolgirl singer named Florence Ballard recruited her friends Mary Wilson and Diana Ross to join her alongside other friends to form the Premettes, a sister group to the established male act named the Primes. The Premettes garnered a local fan base, with each girl taking turns at singing the lead, and after winning a local talent contest, the young entrepreneurs set their sights on securing their own record deal. After auditioning unsuccessfully to a prominent and upcoming car factory worker turned Motown songwriter named Berry Gordy Jr., the girls continued to work hard and visited his music studio, aptly named Hitsville, USA, every day after school. Gordy Jr. eventually relented to the girls' pressure and said he would produce a record for them, under the condition that they changed their name. Ballard chose the Supremes, much to Ross's dismay, thinking that it sounded too masculine. However, thus, the Supremes were signed in early 1961. From the years of 1961 to 1963, they failed to have much success, with all three girls continuing to sing lead on their soul-inspired records. They earned the name the No-Hit Supremes.
No, that's ironic.
Gordy decided that something had to be thematically changed if they were going to survive in the cutthroat and white-dominated music industry. This change came in 1963 when Ross was officially chosen to be the lead by Gordy, allegedly for her voice having more appeal to white audiences, aka the charts, but also potentially for cosmetic or personal reasons. But we'll get back to that later. It's relatively unclear if Ballard felt dissatisfaction with Ross being chosen as the star of the Supremes, but it's more so suggested due to her past traumas she fell into a downward spiral. A cocktail of the fame, drama, and her own personal problems fueled Ballard's alcoholism, her depression, and subsequently meant that she missed several rehearsals and shows.
Florence was just, it was just horrible for her, and she could not adjust to what was going on. So eventually, yes, she did start drinking.
Due to her erratic behaviour, in April 1967 she was replaced temporarily with one of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebell singers named Cindy Birdsong. Though Ballard suggested that Birdsong was going to replace her for up to a year in advance.
They had Cindy Birdsong was there, and they had been grooming her with tapes for a whole year, and I didn't even have any knowledge of it. And they had a whole tape of the show we were doing, Nightclub at.
Gordy and Ballard showed evidence of a tumultuous work relationship, where he would frequently cite her weight, attendance, and mental health as an issue to the group. This, unfortunately, combined with her anger at Ross and Gordy, led her to being fired in July 1967 in Las Vegas, and she was officially replaced by Birdsong. The newly formed trio went on to perform as Diana Ross and the Supremes, all in the same night of firing Ballard, cementing Diana Ross as the lead Supreme and star vehicle of Gordy's acclaimed Motown label.
Hey, life, look at me. I can see the mirror.
Dreamgirls is a 1981 award-winning Broadway musical. Beginning in 1962, the story starts with a vocal trio from Chicago named the Dreamettes, who went to the famous amateur night talent competition at the Apollo Theatre in Harlem, New York. Headlining the Dreamettes is Hain diva Effie White, and the music they perform written by her brother Cece. The act is supported by eager backup singers Laurel Robinson and the beautiful but not as vocally impressive Dina Jones.
Listen!
What the fuck
is going on in this neighborhood? We don't get down like that.
They ultimately don't win the contest that night, but their potential is undeniable to the audience. The group is selected to sing as backup singers for a more popular act, Jimmy Thunder Early, under the guidance of car salesman turned music producer Curtis Taylor Jr. The group, along with CeCe, share their passion for music but find that their records are being stolen and promoted by white artists to a much higher acclaim than they had achieved. Curtis decides to embark on shady alternatives to ensure their music is heard and untampered with, suggesting he participates in payola. After finding success through these methods, things turn sour for the group when Curtis gives them the opportunity to become their own act under the condition that background singer Dina Jones sings lead.
Dina's doing lead? She can't sing like I can.
She's right, Curtis, I can't.
Curtis directly sacrifices the vocal prowess of his now girlfriend Effie for the more commercial sounding and visually appealing Dina. This turn of events leaves Effie feeling betrayed, where she accuses Dina of having an affair with Curtis in order to become the lead. She misses and actively sabotages rehearsals and performances due to her anger and frustration to the group's change, much to Curtis, Laurel's and Dina's chagrin.
Get back there.
Why, Curtis? You don't need me. All you care about is her bony ass.
You could back off.
In 1967, Effie turns up late to rehearse for their Las Vegas debut after missing previous shows due to illness, only to find that she has been replaced by another singer named Michelle Morris. Dumped by the Dreams and by Curtis, Effie pleads for another chance. However, Dina goes on to perform as Dina and the Dreams that night, leaving Effie behind to lament on her broken dreams. Just before I get into the differences and similarities, I did want to just kind of make a point that there is conflicting and contradictory evidence in regards to the Supremes. This is because the accounts of the Supremes is based on memories. Sometimes the intentions of memories are never quite clear, or I think sometimes we like to believe that there are monsters or victims or shenanigans that have gone in the showbiz industry, and it's our job to kind of look at the evidence that's put in front of us and decide for ourselves whether we believe it to be true or not. So I'm not going to say whether I believe the story of the Supremes is gospel or not, or whether I think, Diana Ross was evil, etc. That's up to you to decide. I'm just going to lay out what I find for you.
Similarity.
But let's get what we know is comparatively true out of the way. Act 1 of Dreamgirls is, in a lot of ways, a shot-by-shot retelling of the Supremes' accepted story, including dates and locations, drama, the rise and fall of Ballad, and Ross becoming the star of the trio. It's no mere coincidence that the characters of Dina, Effie, and Curtis are direct references to Diana, Florence, and Gordy, and that many of the staple plot points of Act 1 are related to what happened with Ross and Ballad under Gordy's supervision. In name, look, and career, they are all similarly matched. However, in details, perhaps not.
To find out right now which one of these gentlemen in truth is Berry Gordy Jr. Will the real Berry Gordy Jr. please stand up?
Both stories start in a talent contest where the girls demonstrate their potential as a group. They both use "ets" at the end of their name and then it's changed to sound more mature. They both sang behind more successful acts whilst building their name and reputation. Berry Gordy Jr. and Curtis Taylor Jr. both started working in the automotive industry through different roles before switching into music production.
Just like the auto factory, I used to see those cars coming in, a bare metal frame, and they call it a brand new car. So I said, wait a minute, why can't I do that with music, my music, and with the people I work with?
Dina and Effie represent the vocal stars of Diana and Florence, Diana being the soft-spoken pop and Florence having the loud, soulful voice. Dina is referred to as Miss Jones, whilst Diana was named Miss Ross, and they were both asked to represent the trio at press conferences.
Slowly, though, Diane started answering all the questions that were clearly directed at Flo or me. During an interview in 1965, the reporter said, "Florence, what's your most unusual experience while on tour?" Flo said, and she was getting ready to reply when Diane interrupted her and said she doesn't have to think long on that because we know, too, that we're really great. And Flo let that go.
Yes.
After Diana is chosen as the lead, Florence begins to act erratic. The truth behind it isn't dead set about being the lead of the group, however, but it is known that she had friction with Berry.
Just out the clear blue, he walks up to me and he says, you know, you told me that you wouldn't try to stand in Diana's way if she wanted to be a single artist. And I told him, that's right, I wouldn't stand in her way if she wanted to be a single artist. But by the same token, I didn't say that I would leave the group either.
And in 1967 Las Vegas, experienced vocalist Michelle/Cindy gets brought into the fold in order to replace Florence/Effie, and happens the same night the name is changed to either Dina Jones and the Dreams or Diana Ross and the Supremes. So, let's take a look at the differences. The Pre-Mets took turns at singing lead, and there wasn't really a squabble for someone to be the leader of the trio. In a lot of interviews, it would seem that whilst feeling a little irked, Mary and Flo didn't generally mind Diana headlining. Florence and Gordy never had a romantic relationship. In fact, the only thing that is documented about their relations was that they conflicted a lot.
Back around, he said to me, he says, I thought I told you to leave. He said, but since you haven't, I have you thrown out.
Florence did have many siblings, but they did not have any input with the Supremes. However, she did have a cousin named Hank Ballard, who was a successful artist and songwriter and even wrote The Twist, which was covered and popularised by Chubby Checker 1 year later. Berry Gordy had already set up his music studio and was already signing up artists such as Jackie Wilson and Smokey Robinson prior to the Supremes. Once signed, the Supremes had a bit of difficulty breaking into the charts, which isn't really represented in Dreamgirls. Effie's attitude problems fundamentally lie in her jealousy of Dina singing lead and her frustration of being put in the background. However, the main argument for Florence's attitude problems come from her alcoholism, her relationship with Gordy, and her past trauma.
I got very upset when people said, "Oh, one of the Supremes was an alcoholic, and then she got so fat, and she was this, and she was that." You know, I was like, how cruel can people be when they don't understand why people drink?
Jimmy Thunder Early, again like Cece, is more representative of amalgamation. Jimmy in this case is various Motown artists, drawing close parallels to Marvin Gaye at some points, whom the Supremes did do backing vocals for. In interviews with Mary Wilson, she often states that the work of Dreamgirls is a great piece of art and has similarities to the real story, but it isn't gospel, nor fundamentally canon to the truth. And I suppose when we note the differences, she is right in a lot of ways. However, it should be noted that Wilson also stated that Dreamgirls was closer to the truth than they even know, and even wrote her first autobiography on the back of it. Could we argue that the differences between the story of the Supremes and Dreamgirls is merely for artistic purposes, and to perhaps to avoid a legal suit from Diana Ross or Berry Gordy? It's been interesting to look at it and actually think, no, they're not quite the same, but then they are. But then they're not. Let me know in the comments if you know any other differences or similarities or interviews that you've seen that kind of match them or, discredit them further. Thank you so much for watching. Part 2 will be coming out shortly once I've done it. I will be looking at more so the movie and Act 2, which kind of diverges quite a lot from the story of the Supremes, so it will be interesting for me to find out and for you too. So stay tuned and I will see you soon. Thank you.